How are you really doing today? I don't mean the answer you give your coworkers when they ask how your weekend was, or the cashier in the grocery line, or how you answer your post on social media when you look happier than you really are. I mean, how are you really doing today? When everyone goes to bed and you're sitting there all by yourself, all alone? When the television is off? When there's nobody around to impress? Maybe you're worried about money. Maybe you're worried about your health. Maybe you're looking for longer work than you ever imagined. Maybe you've got a job, but it doesn't pay enough. And maybe you're wondering if you're even be able to buy a home. Maybe you've already bought one. And every month you're wondering how much longer you're going to be able to keep it when mortgage payments are due. And if that's you today, I want you to know something. You're not alone. You may feel alone, but you're not. We've become professionals at saying, I'm good, I'm hanging in there. But meanwhile, we're exhausted. We're worried, we're discouraged. Sometimes we're scared, not because we're weak, but because we're human. Life has a way of piling things on us all at once. One bill becomes three. One stressful day becomes a stressful month. One unexpected setback becomes a year you never saw coming. It happens to people in their 20s. It happens to even people in their retirement. It happens to people who seem like they have everything together. The person smiling at work every day might seem like they have everything together and everything's fine. The neighbor who waves to you every morning might be taking care of their sick parents and never telling anyone. The father coaching Little League may be wondering if he'll still have his job 6 months from now. The young couple buying their first home may be secretly terrified that they made the wrong financial decision. You just don't know. That's one reason I think that we need to slow things down a little bit. Not because life stops, it won't. Bills are still due. Kids still need to be able to go to school. Work still expects you to show up every day. The dog still wants to go for a walk. And life keeps moving whether or not you want it to. But somewhere along the way, we've stopped checking in with one another. I mean, really checking in. Not texting someone a thumbs up emoji, not clicking a heart on Facebook, actually asking someone, how are you doing? And really being sincere and waiting for a response. And that's becoming rare. We're surrounded by technology and we can talk to somebody on the other side of the planet in just seconds. But somehow, more people have never felt more alone. And I don't think that's a coincidence. I think somewhere along the way, we've been confused being connected with actually having a connection. Those are two different things. And still, eat dinner every night feeling they're completely alone. You can get hundreds of likes on Facebook and still wonder if anyone actually knows what's going on in your life. Seeing everyone else's vacation, everyone else's promotions, everyone else's cars, everyone else's happy family pictures online, and before long, you start wondering why your own life doesn't seem to add up. The truth is, you're comparing your life to someone else's, to everyone else's highlighted reel. That's a battle that no one wins. So today, I don't want this to be another video telling you to think positive. I don't want to throw statistics at you. I don't even want to pretend that I have every answer to your questions. I simply want this to feel like two people having a conversation, two human beings connecting over a video and just chatting. Because maybe that's exactly what both of us need today. I think one of the biggest reasons that people are feeling overwhelmed these days is because the rules seem to keep changing. Think about it. Not many years ago, people believed there was a roadmap to just about everything in life. Going to school, learn a trade, earn a degree, getting a job, hard work, saving your money, buying a home, raising a family, and retiring someday. It wasn't always easy, but at least the path was clear. A lot of people aren't sure where the path even begins nowadays. Young people are asking themselves if they'll ever be able to afford their first home. And parents are wondering if their children will have a better future than they did. People in their 50s and 60s are asking themselves if they can even afford to retire. And others are starting over completely. New career, new city, new life. None of that was in the plan. Life has a funny way of rewriting our plans that we make when we're busy. And when enough of those changes have happened at once, it's exhausting. Sometimes we don't even realize how exhausted we've become. We just wake up one morning and think, why do I feel this way? You used to be excited about your future, not every day, but more than you used to. That's understandable. Just turn on the news for 10 minutes and you'll hear about inflation, layoffs, interest rates, artificial intelligence, wars, politics, crime, housing prices. The news gets paid to keep your attention. It doesn't get paid to protect your peace. There's a difference. Bad news spreads fast. Good news usually spreads quietly. For every headline telling you the world is ending, there are thousands of people quietly helping out their neighbors. There are teachers showing up every day, every morning, because they care about their students. There are nurses working another 12-hour shift. Police officers, firefighters, truck drivers, construction workers, farmers, small business owners, and parents working 2 jobs so that their kids can have the same opportunities they never had. Most of those people never make the evening news, but they're the reasons our community still functions. And sometimes we forget that. Sometimes we start believing everything is broken. Is everything perfect? Of course not. There are real problems, real struggles, real people hurting. Ignoring those problems doesn't help anyone. I think hope has become underrated. Hope isn't pretending everything is just wonderful. Hope isn't sticking your head in the sand and deciding you're going to keep moving away. That's courage. I think courage gets misunderstood. People imagine courage means not being afraid. I don't think that's true. I think courage means being afraid, going to work anyway, applying for another job anyway, studying for that certification anyway, showing up for a family anyway, calling your friends anyway. Those little decisions matter more than we realize. We celebrate giant accomplishments, the promotion, the new house, the business, but life is usually built on ordinary Tuesdays, the days nobody posts about, the mornings when you don't feel like going, the evenings when you're tired, the weekends when you could quit, but you don't. I've always believed that ordinary people do extraordinary things. Maybe today your victory isn't buying a house. Maybe your victory is simply paying an electric bill. Maybe it's making another week. Maybe it's enrolling in the class you've been putting off. Maybe it's deciding you're not finished yet. Those victories count. And don't let anyone convince you otherwise. We've gotten in this habit of comparing ourselves to other people we don't even know. Someone else taking a vacation, someone posts pictures of their new home, their dream home, and suddenly our own progress doesn't feel like enough. But you don't know their whole story. You don't know the sacrifices they've made. You don't even know how much debt they're in. You don't know what they're worried about after they put the phone down. Instead of asking, am I doing better than I did last year? We ask, am I doing as well as someone else? Those are completely 2 different questions. I think the first question is healthier. Are you growing? Are you learning? If the answer is yes, you're moving in the right direction. Not someone else's pace, at yours. And that's enough. Let's talk about something that almost every family thinks about, and that is money. Not because money is the most important thing in life, it isn't, but because the lack of it has a way of affecting almost everything around us and everything else. It affects your sleep, it affects your relationship, money affects your confidence, it affects your health, it affects the way you see tomorrow. For some people, money is just a number on a blank statement. For others, it's wondering whether you can afford groceries until payday. It's deciding which bill gets paid first. It's wondering if they can put gas in the car and still have enough money left for the rest of the week. Those aren't just financial problems, they're emotional ones too. When people feel financial pressure long enough, it begins to change how they think. Instead of dreaming about the future, they begin surviving the present. They stop planning vacations. They stop taking chances. Sometimes they even stop believing that things could even get better. Not because there's something wrong with them, because stress has a way of shrinking our vision. When you're under enough financial pressure, tomorrow starts to look exactly like today. Week after week, month after month, maybe you felt that. Maybe you wake up, you go to work, come home, pay bills, go to sleep, wake up, and do it all over again the next day. Eventually, you start asking yourself, is this all there is? All there is to life? I don't think that's a selfish question. I think it's a human one. People want purpose. People want to believe the sacrifice they're making actually means something. And that's why we have to be careful how we define ourselves by a paycheck. Your income is important. Your job does matter. Working hard matters. But your value as a human being isn't printed on your pay stub, and never has been and never will be. I've met people who are in six figures that were absolutely miserable. I've met people making far less that had peace of mind that money couldn't buy. Money solves a lot of problems. Let's not pretend it doesn't. It can remove stress and create opportunities, even your family security, but it doesn't automatically give you purpose. Those are two different things. Purpose comes from knowing why you get up every morning, and purpose comes from serving others. Purpose comes from building something, learning something, even helping someone, being someone your family can count on. That kind of wealth doesn't show up in your bank account, but it's valuable just the same. One thing I've noticed is that people don't mind hard work. Most people actually enjoy what they have. What discourages people is feeling like no matter how hard they work, they can't get ahead. And that's frustrating. You finally get a raise, then the groceries cost more. Property taxes go up. Utilities go up. And before long, the raise doesn't feel like much of a raise anymore. A lot of people are experiencing that right now. They're working, they're trying, and they're doing everything they know to do. And yet it still feels like they're running uphill. If that's how you're feeling today, don't mistake a difficult season for permanent life. Those are not the same thing. Seasons change, sometimes slowly, sometimes when you least expect them. One of the greatest mistakes that we make is believing today's circumstances will last forever. They won't. Think about your own life. How many chapters have already gone by? Things that seemed impossible eventually become memories. Problems you thought that would never end eventually did. So life has a way of moving forward, even if it doesn't feel like it today. And that's why I want to encourage you to keep investing in yourself. Even if it's just 15 minutes a day, read a book, listen to a podcast, learn a new skill, practice something new, study something new. Take one small step. You don't have to change your whole life this week. People often underestimate consistency of accomplishment. One page becomes a chapter, one chapter becomes a book, one application becomes a new job, and one decision can quietly change the direction of your entire life. The challenge isn't that we recognize those moments when they're happening. They seem ordinary, almost too small to recognize or matter. But life isn't usually changed by one leap. It's changed by thousands of little decisions that no one applauds. Nobody hands you a trophy for getting up when you're discouraged. Nobody throws a parade because you kept going. But those little moments, in fact, I think they're the moments that define us the most. So if you're carrying a heavy load today, don't feel like you have to carry it alone. Don't feel like you have to carry it perfectly. Just carry it one step at a time, one day at a time, one decision at a time. Because before you know it, you'll look back and realize you've come a lot farther than you thought you could. And sometimes that's exactly how progress looks. Quiet, steady, almost invisible, until one day you realize your life has changed. Now let's talk about something much bigger than bricks and lumber. A house. For most people, a home has never been just four walls and a roof. It's where birthdays happen. It's where kids learn to ride their bikes. It's where families gather around the dinner table. It's where memories are made. That's why the conversation about housing has become so emotional. It isn't about just the square footage. It's about stability. It's about security. It's about wondering if you'll ever have a place to truly call your own. For some people watching this, and maybe it's you already own a home. Maybe you worked for it your whole life. Maybe you watched its value rise over the years. But even then, you probably understand that today's market feels different than it used to. Buying a home feels like trying to catch a train that's just pulling away from the station. Every time you save a little more, prices move again. Interest rates change, insurance costs change, property taxes change, go up, and the finish line seems further and further away, especially for young families. I think about people just starting out. They're doing what they can and what they were told to. They're saving, they're working, they're trying to stay out of debt. They're making sacrifices. And yet some of them still feel like homeownership is slipping further and further out of sight and out of reach. Now, don't mistake a delay for a defeat. Those are two different things as well. Life rarely happens on schedule. Sometimes the timing isn't what we hope for. Sometimes the doors stay closed a little longer than we expected. Sometimes opportunities don't show up until we've almost stopped looking. Now, that doesn't mean they won't come. It simply means life has its own timeline. Patience is continuing to prepare while you're waiting. It's improving your credit, saving another $100, learning more about the market. Now I have a colleague that used to talk about luck being when opportunity and preparation meet hand in hand. You're prepared for the opportunity and the timing, and that's the luck that you have. Preparation has a funny way of creating confidence, though. The more you learn, the less intimidating something becomes. And that's true whether you're buying your first house, changing careers, or learning a completely new skill. Fear usually shrinks as knowledge grows. That's one reason I encourage people to stay curious. Ask questions, read, listen, learn. You don't have to become an expert overnight. You just have to know a little bit more than tomorrow than you know today. That's progress. And progress has a way of restoring hope. I've noticed something else. Sometimes people become focused on the finish line. They forget to appreciate how far they've come. Maybe you're not where you want to be right now. Most of us aren't. But are you further than you were 5 years ago? Have you learned things you didn't know? Have you survived challenges you never thought you could? Have you become wiser, stronger, more patient? Those things matter too. Success isn't measured only by what you own, it's measured by who you become while chasing your goals. Now let's shift gears for a moment, because there's another conversation that makes a lot of people a little uneasy. Artificial intelligence, AI, is either going to solve everything or destroy everything. Now, personally, I don't think either extreme is very helpful. Every generation has experienced a change. There was a time people feared automobiles, televisions, computers, the internet, smartphones. Now it's AI. Does that mean we won't be disrupted and there will be a bigger disruption in place? Of course not. There already is. Some jobs will change, some jobs will disappear completely. The challenge is deciding how well and how we'll respond to it. You have two choices. You can spend every day fearing the future, or you can spend every day preparing for it. I know which one gives you a better chance. Learn the tools, understand the technology, figure out how it can help you instead of assuming it's your enemy. The people who adapt are usually the ones that remain valuable. Adaptability has always been one of the most important skills a person could ever have, not because it guarantees success, because it gives you options. And options create opportunity. Maybe your career changes, maybe your business changes, maybe your plans change. That doesn't mean your future disappears. It simply means your future might look different than you ever expected it. There's nothing wrong with that. Some of the happiest people I've met didn't end up where they originally planned. They ended up somewhere better. Not easier, better. because the unexpected chapter taught them something they would never have learned otherwise. So if you're anxious about the future, take a deep breath. You don't have to solve the problem in the next 10 years today. You don't even have to solve it next year. Just ask yourself one question. What's one thing I can learn this week that my future self can thank me for? Maybe it's a new computer skill. Maybe it's improving your communication. Maybe it's learning about investing. Maybe it's studying for a license. Or maybe it's simply reading one chapter of a book you've been meaning to open. Those small investments can rarely pay overnight, but over time, they can completely change the direction of your entire life. Now, I want to ask you another question. When was the last time somebody actually asked how you were doing and actually waited for an answer? Not the quick, how are you doing, as they're halfway down the hallway. Not the kind of question people ask just being polite, where somebody actually sat down, put away their phone, and asked genuinely how you were doing. For a lot of people, it's been a long time, maybe longer than they like to admit. Loneliness doesn't always look like you're sitting in an empty room all alone by yourself. Sometimes loneliness looks like being surrounded by people and still feeling alone. It can happen in a crowded office, it can happen in a classroom, it can even happen at church, and it can happen inside a marriage. It can happen at a family reunion. You can be surrounded by conversation and still feel like no one really knows what's going on inside. I think we've become busier than we've ever been. On our calendars, they're full. Our phones never stop buzzing. Our email inboxes fill up faster than we can empty them. And every day seems like another notification over and over. Another meeting, another deadline, another responsibility. Many of us have fewer meaningful conversations every day than we've ever had before. I don't think human beings were designed to live that way. We need each other. We always have. Think about the hardest moments in your life you've ever been through. What got you through them? Was it the money? Was it possession? Probably not. More often than not, it was another person. Someone who listened, someone who took the time, someone who sat beside you when they didn't even know what to say. Sometimes the greatest gift you can give another person is simply your presence. You don't always need the perfect words. You don't have to solve their problems. You don't even have to fix everything for them. Sometimes all someone needs to hear is, I'm here and I got you. I wonder how many people around us are silently hoping someone notices them. The coworker who suddenly became quieter, the neighbor whose garage door hasn't opened in several days, the friend who stopped returning your calls, the family member who keeps saying they're just tired. Sometimes those are ordinary moments, but sometimes they're cries for help and they're almost too quiet to hear. That's why I believe we have a responsibility to notice each other, not by a judgmental way and not by assuming the worst, but by caring enough to pay attention. You don't need a psychology degree to ask someone if they're okay. You don't need years of training to send them a text to say, hey, you've been on my mind today. Just wanted to check in. Imagine if more people did that. Imagine if everyone just reached out to just one person this week. One phone call, one text, one cup of coffee, one conversation. You have no idea what it might mean to somebody. Maybe they're having the best week of their life. You just made it even better. Wonderful. Or maybe they're barely hanging in there. And your call reminds them that somebody cares. People won't remember us by driving the newest truck or the biggest television that we have. They're going to remember us how we treated them. They're going to remember whether we listened or not, whether we encouraged them. That's the kind of wealth that never loses value. I think about that often because time is a way of changing what we value. As we were younger, we chased accomplishments. As we grew older, we began to appreciate relationships. We realized that the people around us, the dinner table matter more than the table itself. We realized that laughter matters more than luxury. Those are lessons that usually can't be taught. If you're blessed enough to still have your parents, call them. If you've been meaning to apologize to someone, don't wait forever. Life has a way of reminding us that tomorrow isn't guaranteed. None of us know how many tomorrows we have. And that's not meant to scare you. It's meant to remind all of us to tell people that we love them. Encourage someone, forgive someone, spend time with your kids, take your spouse out to dinner, visit your grandparents, put the phone down once in a while, and look people in the eye. So where do we go from here? That's really the question, isn't it? We've talked about stress, we've talked about money, we even talked about housing, we've talked about jobs, we've talked about loneliness, we even talked about the uncertainty so many people are feeling. But none of those conversations matter if they don't lead us somewhere. Before we go any further, this is what I'd like to ask you to think about in your own life for a minute. Not mine, yours. Think back over the last 5 years, and 5 years isn't really that long, but I bet if you stop and think about it, you probably lived through more than you expected. Maybe you've changed jobs. Maybe you've lost somebody. Maybe you welcomed a child or a grandchild into your family. Or maybe you moved. Maybe you've even gone through a divorce. Maybe you fought through health problems. And maybe you watched your parents grow old. Life can change quickly in a blink of an eye. That's why I think we need to do a lot better with one another. You know what else I've noticed? People are tired, not just physically, emotionally, and mentally. They're tired of arguing, they're tired of division, they're tired of feeling like they have to choose a side on every issue. They're tired of opening the news and feeling anxious before they even finish their morning coffee. And sometimes people just need a break. Maybe that's what this conversation is all about, a break. Not from reality, but from all the noise. A reminder that there are still good people in this world. There really are. You probably know some. Maybe they're the neighbor who mows someone else's lawn without even being asked. Maybe they're the teacher who stays after school to help a struggling student. Maybe they're a coworker who quietly covers your shift when you've had a rough day. Maybe they're the nurse who holds someone's hand because their family couldn't get there in time. Those people exist every single day. They just don't usually make the headlines. I think we spend too much time talking about what's broken and not enough time talking about what's still working. Families are still loving each other. Neighbors are still helping each other. Communities are still coming together after tragedy. People still volunteer. People still donate. People still pray for complete strangers. People still stop to help someone change a flat tire. Good behavior didn't just disappear. It just doesn't get nearly as much attention. And maybe that's where hope begins. But in remembering that good still exists. Sometimes we have to intentionally look for it because negativity has a way of demanding our attention. Goodness usually whispers. Have you ever noticed that? You can receive 10 compliments and 1 criticism. Guess which one you'll think about all day? But maybe we need to train ourselves to notice the good just as intentionally. Notice the child laughing. Notice the sunset. Notice the stranger who lets someone merge into traffic. Notice the couple celebrating 50 years of marriage. Notice the friend who always answers your phone call. Life isn't only made up of big moments. Most of it happens in ordinary ones. A cup of coffee with someone you love. Dinner around the kitchen table. Walking your dog after work. Taking a drive with no destination. Those moments don't seem extraordinary while they're happening. But years later, those are often the memories you remember and the ones we think about the most. I think we've become so busy chasing the next milestone that we forget enjoying the life that we're living today. There's nothing wrong with having goals. You should have goals. Keep dreaming, keep building, keep growing. But don't become so focused on tomorrow that you completely miss today. Because one day, you'll wish you could go back and experience that day one more time. Life has a way of teaching us that, usually a little harder than we'd like. So maybe this week, slow down just a little bit, just enough, and notice what's already good in your life. Call someone, take a walk, watch a sunrise, watch a sunset. Have dinner without your phone on the table. Tell someone you're proud of them. You may be surprised how much those simple things change, not only their day, but yours as well. The fastest way to improve your mental health is to remind somebody that they matter. As we get closer to the end of this conversation, I want to leave you with something practical. Not complicated, not something that takes thousands of dollars, not something that requires changing your entire life overnight. Just a few things that over time can make a real difference. The first one, guard what you allow in your mind. Think about that. If the first thing you do every morning is open your phone and immediately start reading the bad news, your day is already being shaped before you even had breakfast. Your mind is incredibly powerful. What you feed it matters. I'm not saying ignore what's happening in the world. We should stay informed. But there's a difference between being informed and being consumed with it. If every notification leaves you anxious, if every conversation turns into another argument, maybe it's time to step back for a while. Protecting your peace isn't weakness, it's wisdom. The second thing I'd encourage you to do is take care of your body. You don't have to become a marathon runner. You don't have to spend hours at the gym. Just move, go for a walk, stretch, spend a little time outside. Fresh air has a way of clearing your thoughts. Sunshine has a way of reminding us that tomorrow still exists. Sometimes the best thing that you can do for yourself is simply stepping outside and breathing. The third thing is give yourself permission to rest. We live in a culture that celebrates being busy. Busy has become a badge of honor. People almost compete over who has the busiest schedules and less free time. I'm exhausted, so am I. I work 60 hours, I work 70. Somewhere along the way, we started believing that being constantly exhausted meant we were successful. I don't believe that. There's nothing wrong with working hard. Hard work built this country. Hard work builds families. But even the strongest people need rest. Rest isn't quitting. Rest is preparing yourself to keep going. The fourth thing, spend more time with people who lift you up. You know exactly who those people are in your life. The ones that encourage you. The ones who make you laugh. The ones who tell you the truth without tearing you down. And the ones who celebrate your victories instead of becoming jealous with them. Spend more time with those people. Life is hard enough. You don't need people constantly reminding you why something can't be done. Find people who inspire you to become better. And if you don't have someone like that in your life right now, become that person for someone else. Sometimes the friend we're looking for is a friend we're supposed to become. The fifth thing is never stop learning. The world is changing, it always will. Don't let that scare you, let it motivate you. Read books, listen to people who have experience. Learn from those who have made mistakes. Ask questions, stay curious. Curious keeps us growing. And growth gives us hope. And one of the saddest things I hear people saying is I'm too old. Too old to learn, too old to change, too old to start over. I don't believe that. As long as you're breathing, you can learn something. You can encourage someone. You can make a difference. It may look different than it did 20 years ago. That's okay. Different doesn't mean worse. I've had conversations with people in their 20s who felt like life was already passing them by. I've talked to people who are in their 60s who are more excited about tomorrow than people half their age. Age isn't what determines hope, perspective does. You don't get to choose every circumstance that comes in your life. None of us do. But you do get to choose how you respond to it. That choice belongs to you. But every attitude, every effort, every decision, you need to keep moving forward. That's yours. Don't give that away. Don't let another person steal it. Don't let the evening news steal it. Don't let social media steal it. Don't let disappointment steal it. Protect it. Because hope is one of the most valuable things you'll ever own. And here's something I'd like you to remember. If you're in a difficult season right now, don't be embarrassed to ask for help. There's strength in reaching out. Whether it's in a trusted friend, a family member, a pastor, a counselor, or another person you trust. You don't have to carry everything yourself. Sometimes the strongest words a person can say are simply, I need a little help. There's courage in that. Most courage than most people realize. And if someone reaches out to you, don't rush them. Listen. Really listen. Sometimes people don't need the perfect advice. They need to know someone cares enough to stay and listen. I want you to remember the question that we started with. How are you really doing today? Yes, you. I hope you've answered that question honestly today, because being honest with yourself is the first step to getting better. As we come to the end of this conversation, I don't want you to remember everything I've said. Honestly, you probably won't. A week from now, you'll remember a few things. A month from now, maybe even less. That's just how life works. But if you remember one thing, I hope it's this: you matter. Not because of your paycheck, not because of your job title, not because of the car you drive, not because of how many followers you have online. You matter because you're a human being, and every single human has value. Some people have forgotten that. Maybe you've forgotten it yourself. Life has a way of convincing us that our value comes from what we produce, how much money we make, how successful we are, how many people admire us. I don't believe that. I don't believe it's true at all. I think your greatest value is found in the lives you touch. Think about it. Years from now, no one is going to remember how much money you had in your bank account. They probably won't even remember the phone you carried or what shoes you wore, but they'll remember how you made them feel. They'll remember whether you were kind or not, whether you kept your word, whether you showed up for things or not, whether you listened and listened to them, whether you believed in them when they couldn't believe in themselves. Those are the things people carry with them, sometimes for the rest of their lives. You know exactly what I'm talking about. Maybe it was a coach, maybe it was your mom, maybe your dad, your grandparent, a friend, a boss. Someone saw something in you before you saw it in yourself. And because they believed in you, you became a little stronger. Now, it's your turn to be that person for someone else. There's someone around you right now who needs encouragement. Maybe they don't know it yet. Maybe they'll never admit it, but they do. Maybe it's a quiet guy at work. Maybe it's your daughter. Maybe it's your son. Maybe it's your spouse. Maybe it's the widow who lives down the street. Maybe it's a young couple trying to figure life out. Maybe it's someone sitting alone in a restaurant wondering if anyone will notice them. Be the person who notices. It costs a little, but it means so much. I want to give you a challenge. Not for the next year, not for the next month, this week. Before this week is over, check on one person. Just one. Call them, text them, knock on the door, take them out to lunch, invite them over for coffee. Ask them the same question I asked you at the beginning of this video. How are you really doing today? And then don't interrupt. Listen. Maybe they'll tell you everything's fine. That's fantastic. Celebrate with them. Or maybe, for the first time in a long time, someone will finally tell the truth. Maybe they'll tell you they're scared. Maybe they'll tell you they're lonely. Maybe they'll tell you they don't even know what comes next. And if that happens, don't panic. Don't feel like you have to fix everything right away or at all. Just stay. One conversation won't solve every problem, but one conversation can remind somebody that they don't have to face those problems alone. And that's powerful. And while you're checking on someone else, don't forget to check on yourself. And ask yourself some honest questions. Am I taking care of my health? Am I spending enough time with the people I love? Am I learning? Am I growing? Am I becoming the kind of person I hope to be? Those aren't easy questions, but they're important ones. Life moves quickly, faster than any of us expect. So if you've been waiting for a sign to make a change, maybe this conversation is it. Not a dramatic change, not one that turns your whole world upside down, just one small step. One phone call, one walk, one application, one apology, one conversation, one act of kindness, one decision to keep moving forward. Because those little decisions have a funny way of becoming completely different life. 1 year from now, you could be amazed by what happened because you refused to quit today. So here's what I want to ask you before we say goodbye. Sometime this week, ask one person the same question we started with. Not because it's a nice thing to say, because you genuinely want to know. Ask them, how are you really doing? And if they answer, listen, really listen. You may discover they needed that conversation far more than you ever realized. And maybe, just maybe, you needed it too. Thank you for spending time with me and having this conversation. I really appreciate it. And if this video encouraged you, share it with someone who might need to hear it. Not because I want more views, because someone you know might need it more than you think. And maybe this conversation will help them take one more step forward. Take care of yourself. Take care of the people you love. Be patient with one another. Keep learning, keep growing. Keep believing that tomorrow can be better than today. And until next time, take a deep breath, keep moving forward. And don't forget to check on someone, because sometimes the most important question you'll ever ask from one human to another is, how are you really doing?